Evernight and Heng Permansor Terrae full kits are here. Today, I am breaking down everything you need to know, starting with Evernight's Memo Sprite-focused gameplay, and then moving into Heng's shielding and support. We will also take a quick look at their new light cones. Quick disclaimer before we start. This is all based on leaked information and may change before release, so keep in mind, numbers, names, and some effects could be different in the final version. Evernight follows the path of remembrance and is an ice-type character. From the very first line of her basic attack, we already see the direction. She deals ice damage based on her max HP to a single target, which means she scales with HP instead of attack. Her power comes from HP scaling, combined with strong critical buffs in her kit. Her skill, Day Gently Slips, consumes part of her max HP to summon Memo Sprite Eevee and boost the critical damage of all allied Memo Sprites for 2 turns. If Eevee is already on the field, the skill heals it for half its max HP instead, while still giving Evernight Memoria stacks. In Darkest Riddle state, she gains even more Memoria. The HP cost is not a drawback, it actually triggers her talent, which rewards losing HP with big critical damage buffs and more Memoria. Her ultimate summons Eevee, deals ice damage to all enemies based on Eevee's max HP, and puts Evernight into Darkest Riddle. While in this state, enemies take more damage, Evernight and Eevee deal much higher damage, and both are immune to crowd control. This is the perfect time to line up big team attacks and break effects, because everything hits harder during this window. Her talent, with me, this night. Eevee starts on the field with high speed and HP equal to Evernight's. Whenever Evernight or Eevee lose HP, both gain a large critical damage boost and Memoria stacks. At 16 Memoria or more, Evernight becomes immune to control effect and makes Eevee act immediate. Eevee's own abilities make her even more dangerous. Her basic skill, Remembrance Whirling, like rain, targets an enemy prioritizing the one Evernight last attacked and deals ice damage based on her max HP, with extra damage for every 4 Memoria Evernight has. The talent Solitude, Drifting, in Murk makes her immune to crowd control, but more likely to be targeted, while increasing the damage of both Eevee and Evernight by 50%. Night, Trailing, in Step, heals Evernight and makes Eevee act immediately when summoned. You, Parting, Beyond Reach, regenerates energy for Evernight and advances her action when Eevee disappears. Finally, Dream, Dissolving, as Dew consumes all HP and Memoria to deal massive ice damage to all enemies before disappearing. Her main traces make her even stronger in Memo Sprite teams. Dark the Night, Still the Moon increases crit rate for her and Eevee and refunds a skill point after Eevee uses Dream Dissolving as Dew. Rouse the Flame, Lull the Light, starts the fight with extra energy and Memoria gain. Kindle the Morn, Drop the Rain, boosts the crit damage buff from her skill based on how many Remembrance characters are in the team. Now, let's talk about her Eidolon. E1 boosts Memo Sprite damage, depending on the number of enemies on the field, but it is still unclear if the bonus is higher with more enemies or fewer. E2 increases Memoria gain and adds more Darkest Riddle charges on Ultimate. E4 raises Weakness Break efficiency for Memo Sprites, and E6 adds all-type resistance penetration for the whole team while restoring Memoria after Eevee's main attack. The leaks that said she would be a sub-DPS were right. She is built to amplify and support Memo Sprite damage, while also contributing solid damage herself. She is an ideal pick for teams with Castoris. Best relic stats are HP percent, speed, crit rate, and crit damage. Now, let's talk about Heng Permansor Terrae. He is a physical unit following the path of preservation. His skill, Terra Omnibus, designates one ally as a bondmate and gives all allies a shield based on his attack. The shield can stack up to 3 times the base amount. The bondmate is always the most recent target of his skill. His ultimate deals physical damage to all enemies, gives another shield to all allies, and enhances Soul Dragon. When Soul Dragon acts in this state, it triggers a follow-up attack of the Bondmate's element, based on the Bondmate's attack, hitting all enemies. His talent summons Soul Dragon whenever an ally becomes a Bondmate. Soul Dragon has high speed, cleanses the team, and gives another shield each time it acts. Shields from Heng and Soul Dragon can stack, and Soul Dragon disappears if either Heng or the Bondmate is knocked down. His technique applies Bondmate before battle and dazes enemies in the overworld, so they do not attack. At combat start, it auto-uses his skill on the Bondmate. His main traces give extra team value. Imperianity boosts the Bondmate's attack when he uses skill. Sylvanity advances his first turn by 40%. Sublimity regenerates energy and advances Soul Dragon's turn when the Bondmate attacks. His Eidolons add more team and bondmate power. E1 refunds a skill point on ultimate and gives the bondmate all-type RS pen. E2 adds more enhanced Soul Dragon actions, instantly advances it after ultimate, and adds bonus single-target damage. E4 lets the bondmate ignore part of enemy DF. E6 increases team damage taken by enemies when a bondmate is present and makes the bondmate deal a large AoE hit when he uses ultimate. Leaks were right. This kit makes him a strong shielder for Phanon. While some may run Phanon without sustain, Dan Heng brings shields, support, and damage boosts. Leaks also suggest he will be a free unit. Finally, the new light cones. To Evernight Stars, increases max HP and gives all Memo Sprites Def Ignore when the wearer's Memo Sprite uses an ability. This is huge for Memo Sprite teams, granting 20% Def Ignore to all Memo Sprite attacks. Then, we have The Worlds Apart, which increases attack, boosts shield strength, heals the team on ultimate, and gives a damage buff that becomes even stronger for allies with summons. If these kits release close to what we see here, Evernight will be a top-tier sub-DPS and enabler for Memo Sprite-focused teams, while Dan Heng Permansor Terrae will be one of the most complete shielding supports in the game, adding extra damage and utility for his team.